What is up, everybody? What is going on? It is Dives, Mr. Crockpot on Twitter. Welcome to Eagles Post Game Live. Today we are breaking down the Eagles' loss here to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 31-15. We're going to talk our top takeaways. What does it all mean moving forward? I saw that time. But guys, if you're new to the channel, smash that subscribe button, hit the like button. If you love the Philadelphia Eagles, and I'm going to actually introduce my man Ty. He is at TyBook3. What's up, Ty?
What's going on, everybody? How are we? Tough end of the year.
Great. Not great. Everything is numb right now. Also joining us is my man Shane. He is at @half_TPL. What's up, Shane?
Can't wait till we cut Jalen Reagor.
Oh my God! And he was still on the field after mistake after mistake after mistake. They kept going to him.
I tweeted during the game that he's the worst draft pick in Eagles history, and that will be my pinned tweet until he's no longer on the team.
I don't know. Antone Davis was pretty bad.
That's what somebody was like, do you remember them drafting a 26-year-old firefighter that didn't want to play football? And I was like, I wish Jalen Reagor wanted to be something else in life. That would make it a lot easier.
Hey, I think about, like, as much as we killed Nelson Aguilar in Philly, like, it's unbelievable just how much worse Jalen Reagor is than Nelson freaking Aguilar.
At least Aguilar cared. I mean, he wasn't the best player, but Reagor doesn't even care. Like, the body language is awful. Just get rid of him.
We have laughing our fucking ass off. Little Boxes says, "Are you ready for Deshaun Watson?" We're gonna get into that very soon. Quentin says the firefighter was the worst.
Yeah, forgot about that.
He was terrible. Absolutely terrible. We got to lead off here. Number one takeaway is Jalen Hurts and, what it means. What it means moving forward here. Jalen Hurts, 23 of 43 in this game, 258 yards, 6 average yards per attempt or per completion. He had a touchdown. He had 2 interceptions, a quarterback rating of 60. But, man, my man, death, taxes, and garbage time for Mr. Jalen Hurts, man. I don't know how many times I saw this guy overthrow Eagles receivers. It was probably at least a handful. Jalen Hurts' issues, seeing the field, throwing accurately down the field with anticipation was put on full display in this wild card game. You have to think, like, in order to be successful in this NFL, man, you got to have a quarterback that is able to throw downfield. I love his ability to use his legs. It's fun. It's fun, especially to kind of watch how defenses try and defend against it. But, like, without that ability to throw downfield consistently and accurately, I don't know if this is, like, as good as it gets here. I don't know that. So if Hurts is the future of this team, man, obviously he needs to develop more as a pocket passer. It was on full display. I love how much he's a leader. I love how good of a teammate this guy is. But the dude has zero awareness. He has zero awareness. He's late on nearly every throw. I don't know, man, but that was arguably his worst game as a Philadelphia Eagle. There were times in this game where the pocket was great. The pocket was clean. He just didn't have it today, period. What about you, Shane? What's your take on Jalen Hurts, and what did you see?
Yeah, I mean, this was probably one of his worst games. Maybe that Giants loss goes up there. Really bad performance from Hurts. I'm not going to take, he compounded some mistakes there in the late third quarter and the fourth quarter when the game was already over. I won't kill him on that because once the game's gone, it's kind of gone, and you see that happen. But looking, when it was still a game, he's missing guys. He was definitely rattled in the pocket. Like we talked about on the halftime show, he was feeling pressure that wasn't there. Was definitely in his head. And so, bad performance. I started the year saying that I did not think Jalen Hurts was a franchise quarterback. I was very on record that I would have drafted Justin Fields. I think throughout the season, Jalen Hurts played himself into the right to be the guy next year. Doesn't mean long term, but next year. But then you look at a game like this against good competition, and what does that do? Well, it gives you some ambiguity going into the offseason. There's going to be talk. Ultimately, though, it's going to come down to alternatives. Like, what is the alternative? And the alternatives are either to draft a guy in a QB class that doesn't look that great. And there's always guys that surge, but the Eagles' earliest pick is still in the mid-teens. Or to leverage a lot of that draft capital for a veteran quarterback. And that's not really a direction I want to see the Eagles go. If there's a quarterback that they fall in love with, I'm fine with taking one. I'd rather not be trading up in this class to get a quarterback, but I'm totally fine if they want to take a guy with one of those first-round picks and let them battle it out. It doesn't even mean the guy has to start, but it's giving you some options. It would be a low-cost investment. Overall, I saw improvement this year. I don't think he's going to be the guy long-term. I don't think you're going to win a Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts, but I do think you can at least develop people and you can be an exciting team with him there until there's maybe a better situation to improve.
I fully agree, and I've dug deep into this quarterback class. It ain't it, man. This is not the time to trade up for like a Kenny Pickett. Even then, I don't think Kenny Pickett's that much of a leap above Jalen Hurts. So it's just not the draft class. I'm definitely on board with getting like maybe a placeholder moving forward. I just put a poll up on our live chat. Is Jalen Hurts the future of the Philadelphia Eagles at quarterback? Make sure you vote. Ty, what's your take on Jalen Hurts today?
I mean, he was bad today, but I think the big picture shows what are you looking for out of this Eagles team over the next couple of years, right? So I agree with Shane. He's not a franchise guy. I don't think the quarterback class is something to be real excited about, but I mean, you're not going to win a championship with somebody that must rely on his legs the entire time and can't come back in a game. So I thought to myself the second that they were down 17-0 that the game was over, because I just don't see him being able to bring them back from behind. If you're going to win a Super Bowl, you need a quarterback that can do things like that, and I don't think he can. So I lost a lot of confidence in Jalen Hurts today. Now, does that mean that I think they give up on him next year? I think the bigger question is, what are they expecting from next year? Are they looking at a 5-year plan where they continue to build? Then yeah, maybe Jalen's the guy next year. I sent a joking text to my dad, who's as big an Eagles fan as anybody. I was like, do you put Minshew out there just to see what happens at this point? And it's not what I thought they would do, but it was just a question for somebody who's a fan. And his response was, Hurts may be playing himself out of a job. I can see Kelsey saying, I don't need this shit, and I retire. This game could change their entire draft board. I don't think that's the case. I don't agree with that. I think if the Eagles have any type of long-term vision, that they stay in the mindset that they need to fix some holes other places other than quarterback this offseason. I don't think they're a contender next year, no matter what they do this year. I think there's too many holes that then they were all on display today, right?
It really were.
So couldn't stop the run up the middle, which is just a joke when you're paying Fletcher Cox as much as you are. Didn't defend the pass well. Steven Nelson is not a great cornerback. He's better than what they had there last year, but he's not a great cornerback. And Jonathan Gannon is absolute fucking trash. Okay, I'm sorry. I can't handle it, man. I didn't think I would be this upset about a defensive coordinator after Jim Schwartz left. I am. Like I'm just blown away by it. So I know this was a Jalen Hurts thing. I'm on my soapbox a little bit. I was trying to tweet this game without getting angry while tweeting it, and finally gave up in the second half and just like threw a couple of big plays in there. But yeah, Hurts was bad today. And there's a reason he got sat down in a national title game. And he's a great leader, great teammate, all those things, but he might not be a great big game guy. And there are some guys that just aren't that way. I'll make the comparison to golf and baseball, right? There are guys who just shrink in the moment that are good players all the time until the moment is on them. And maybe that's Jalen Hurts. I don't know.
You saw him. He looked like a deer in headlights. The dude is young.
Yep.
He's got a long career ahead of him. No question about that. He's had a lot of ups and downs this Eagles season, but there are major holes in his game. There are major holes on the Philadelphia Eagles. In order to have a quarterback like Jalen Hurts on the Philadelphia Eagles, the roster is just not good enough. And it was so clear from the jump, especially that front seven, as they stacked 8-9 in the box and took away the Eagles completely. Jalen Hurts looked scared. For a good chunk of this game, he looked scared. So, and that kind of leads into like kind of the next question, and that is Nick Sirianni and what we saw from Nick. So he deserves a lot of criticism, no question about it. I mean, you're a run-heavy team from the jump. That's your ID. That's your game. You can't go away from it as much as they did, no matter what is happening on the field. Like, you look at kind of like the reason why they're so run-heavy is because of Jalen Hurts. So what do you think, guys? Like, was it too much? What did you see from this Nick Sirianni play calling today? Because for me, it wasn't good enough. I'll throw it to Shane.
I don't think – I mean, Miles Sanders averaged 2.3 yards a carry. I'm questioning why Jordan Howard never got carries. I know he was in the game a few times. I don't know. I'd be interested to see his snap counts and to hear if he was banged up in some way, because I have to imagine he was, or he would have been getting some carries there. Overall, though, I fault the passing concepts more. I mean, they were playing single high coverage. They were playing real soft. And I mean, I play a lot of Madden. There's a lot of jokes in the Madden community about how these top Madden players could be offensive coordinators in the NFL because they understand the game so well. Every Madden player can tell you how to beat, single high off man coverage. It's out breaking routes to the sideline. And we didn't do that. And I don't understand that, but by the same token, we saw several times Quez Watkins behind the defense and Hurts didn't pull the trigger or he overthrew it. And so there were plays there that were left on the field. Sirianni deserves criticism for his game plan coming into this, but I would look less at the run pass ratio and more the passing concepts and the run concepts that were called.
Yeah, no question. But like, what you're good at though is the run. Like, that is kind of what your team is built around. And I get it, Quentin. We're gonna go some comments in a quick. Like, I'm not questioning the lack of running. It wasn't effective today. Maybe I'm not questioning Jalen Hurts. I'm questioning Nick Sirianni. There should have been something. I expected a little more. What about you, Ty?
I thought they became really predictable. Now, whether that's because Sirianni didn't think that they were capable of doing anything else, and that's a problem in itself, but they ran between the tackles twice today. I mean, literally everything was a sweep. Am I about right about that, Shane? I mean, as I'm tweeting, I kind of miss some things from time to time, but I mean, they ran between the tackles twice, and I think one of them was the Boston Scott touchdown. Right?
Yeah. Everything seemed to bounce outside. I don't know if that was by design or by, Vea just eating up the middle and Sanders was bouncing those outside because he's had a habit early in his career of bouncing outside. So I'm not entirely sure what the play call was, but the execution was definitely, everything was outside, and that's not the strength there.
Right. Vea was eating up the inside, but at the same time, they pushed him one way or the other almost every play. So it's like, if you're a good running back, you're going to be patient, see which way Vea is going and try and hit the other side if the play is going up the middle, which they didn't call a whole lot of, a lot of sweeps today. I'm not going to bang on Sirianni overall. I will bang on him today. I don't think they were very good today. Overall, I think he's done a good job this year. I don't have a problem with him coaching the football team. But today they got really predictable, and that's the one big knock on Sirianni for me this year, is that there are times where I'm sitting there and I call the play before they snap it. Like the formation comes out and it's like, oh, well, they're going to run a RPO to the right here, and it's either going to be handoff or Hurts is going to keep it. And honestly, the first RPO they ran today, which was that third down play, Tampa Bay just nutted it. And it was almost like Hurts from that point on was done. I mean, he ran the ball a couple times successfully, but that's the first time I've seen a team just absolutely sell out on it and make them they just hammered him. So I thought the game plan all around was pretty bad.
Top to bottom, all three levels. Let's go to some comments real quick. Quinn says, I blame the defensive offensive prep play calling first, then Jalen Hurts, then Jalen Reagor. Can we just collectively punt Jalen Reagor to the freaking moon? He's done. Keith says, switch Reagor to second. We're on the same page. Keith says, Jordan did not look hot today either. We got steamrolled. Jalen had McNabb Super Bowl vibes. Almost expected dude to puke on the field a few times. Damn. Mike J says, Nick and Jalen's first year together. Tom and Bruce Arians are legends. We got smacked, but the future is bright with 3 first-round picks. It is. It 100% is. There's a lot to be excited about.
That's the thing, too, is, yeah, that's a disappointing way, an embarrassing way to end a season. But remember sitting there at 2-5, or even before the season started when people were ranking rosters and they had the Eagles as like the second or third worst roster in the league. They had Jalen Hurts ranked outside the top 40 quarterbacks. You had a team with a first-year head coach and defensive play caller, first full year starting for Hurts. You've got I think it was the second largest amount of dead money in the NFL. Nobody expected this team to go 9-8. 9-7. You can count the last week if you want to. It doesn't really matter. But 9-7, nobody expected that. And so while it's a disappointing outcome, I think there's a lot of positives to take away from the season as a whole, and a lot of things to feel good about moving into the future. Particularly, I mean, Devonta Smith is an elite receiver. You've got Dallas Goedert is a very good tight end. You've got a top offensive line. You got 3 first-round picks. And so, yeah, it's not the results you wanted on the field today, but there's a lot of things to feel hopeful about moving forward. That dead money is coming off the books. The Eagles have tons of cap space, a lot of offseason draft capital, so they can make some things happen. They can revamp this roster in a hurry.
I gotta make a comment. Yeah, Brady and Arians are legends. I don't have a problem admitting that, right? Like Brady might end up being, well, he is the greatest quarterback to ever play the game. Okay, but that has nothing to do with why the Eagles got smacked in the mouth today. Nothing to do with it. They were down injuries upon injuries. They got smacked in the mouth today because they weren't prepared. Okay, the game plan was shit, and that is why they lost today. It had nothing to do with Brady and Arians being legends. In fact, early in that game, Tom Brady was not sharp.
He wasn't.
He missed. He was not. They had an opportunity early in that game. The first touchdown, fine. They kind of went down the field, but they had a really good opportunity in that game after that drive to make it a game, and it was never there.
Quentin says, I don't question the lack of running. Tampa Bay at 9-10 in the box. Modog says, I think the biggest thing with Sirianni today is that he had a week to prep for this, and they came out flat emotionally as well as the play calling. No question. Mike J says, gives 3 of my guys that I literally tweeted Nakobe Dean like a couple hours ago. Tyler Linderbaum, Nakobe Dean, and Sauce Gardner would look terrific in Eagles green. I've done a couple mock drafts. All 3 of those guys have been on them. So go check that out. And then Devontae played angry. Why were they so avoidant of Devontae Smith early in this game? What was that about? Like you looked at, like you watched. I'm making all these Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, great matchups.
Come out after the game. He has 10 yards. They're giving him 10 yards every single time on the outside, and they barely looked at him until the second half. Any reason for that, Shane?
There's a few. It's hard to see what's happening downfield until you get all 22, but there were a few in replays where he didn't seem to get a lot of separation. And I don't know if that was just a few replays I saw or if that was an issue. It's hard to tell. I mean, you saw what happened with the screen pass they threw to him near the end of the game. Like, you got that off coverage. How about instead of throwing those to Reagor or to Quez Watkins, we throw those to our best receiver? That's the biggest thing. That if you're going to manufacture touches, manufacture them for the only receiver on your team that should be on an NFL roster.
It's like Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. Like, just go. Like, back. Just
Get him
keep
the ball.
going. Just give him the ball. Let him run. Let him go. Devontae Smith, let him run. And they just neglected it. Any thoughts on that, Ty?
Yeah, so I'm curious. I have a question for both of you guys. Skill positions, right? So I don't believe that Miles Sanders is the answer in the backfield. I mean, I just don't. He's a different player every week. And I think Quez Watkins is a nice number 3 receiver. But if you could figure out a way, what would be your decisions in the backfield and at that number 2 receiver spot next year? If, whether it be a free agent, a draft pick, whatever, where would you improve those 2 positions? Because, and if you disagree with me totally, that's fine. You can say, well, Miles Sanders is the guy. That's fine. Or Quez Watkins is the number 2. But I think that they had over-the-top help on Devontae Smith almost all day today. And they were doubling Goddard, and that's why Watkins got behind the coverage a couple of times. And I might be wrong once we see tape, but I think there needs to be another option on the wide receiver core. And offensively, I think Sanders is a really okay back, right? Like I don't see him being that guy that you can hand the ball 20, 25 times to. I think Jordan Howard's that guy in the right offense if he stays healthy, but that also is a question as well. So I'm curious, what do you guys think about those 2 things?
For wide receiver, I go free agency or trade. That's the first step.
Anybody specific?
Well, obviously Calvin Ridley, Devontae Adams. Like there are some Gallup would be interesting, although I know he's injured. That would be my first route because I really want to spend my resources on defense, especially in this draft. Yep. Next route, or the next option B, there are some really talented wide receivers in this draft. Jameson Williams, John Mechie, Kenny Pickens. The list goes on and on there. That could be available in that mid to late first round, second round area. You need a number 2 guy. If Jalen Hurts is your main guy, you need a true bona fide number 2 guy that can create space, create separation. No question about that. For running back, it's not a secret. I've been out on Booby Miles for a while now. It's the contract. I don't know what the contract's going to look like beyond a year from now. But for me, Isaiah Spiller in this draft, I am 100% down. If this is the Sirianni offense we're going to expect next year, you got a guy in the second, third round, a running back like Isaiah Spiller, a versatile running back. Let's do it. And you got Kenny Gainwell, who I thought showed a lot of flashes here today. Kenny Gainwell had a pretty solid game. So for me, both are, I'll go wide receiver then running back in terms of need. But for wide receiver, I still think it's like a mid-tier need. And I'd prefer to fill that need, whether free agency or a trade. What about you, Shane?
Yeah, I think wide receiver is a bigger need than running back, in my opinion, because I think running backs are fairly interchangeable. For wide receiver, I think Quez Watkins is an okay wide receiver 3/4 type of guy. He's not a wide receiver 2. I think he's got wide receiver 3 upside. I don't think he's there yet. He could be. The biggest need the Eagles have is an X wide receiver, that big-bodied Alshon Jeffrey type that can go over the middle, can make contested catches, that sort of thing, can consistently beat press. Right now, the only receiver that they have that can consistently beat press is Devonta Smith, and that's not the role you want him to play. And so getting an X receiver allows you to put Quez Watkins as your deep threat, as your Z, maybe put him in the slot. You can put Devonta Smith in the slot. You can play around with that, but you need that guy. And if you want Hurts to become a more full passer, you need to be able to run full field concepts. Most of those full field concepts are running a route concept to the boundary, and you've got a backside dig route coming across. That's what the Packers do with Devonta Adams all the time. Rodgers has we'll look to one side of the field, and he knows he doesn't like he sees. He can bounce back over the middle. Devonta Adams is going to be there, and he's going to be open. The Eagles need that. I would like to see them go make a play for someone in free agency because they have so much youth at receiver already. A guy like, Devontae Adams, they're going to tag him. I'm almost positive, but I would pay ungodly amounts of money for Devontae Adams if he actually hit free agency. Assuming that doesn't happen, you could go get a guy like Allen Robinson. Maybe go get someone like, Mike Williams. I think the Chargers are probably going to tag him as well. I'd be happy to bring in Michael Gallup on a 1-year deal to let him, prove he's back from his injury, and then he can go make his money. Chris Godwin doesn't fit the player type, but same thing with him. I'd bring either of those guys in on a 1-year deal and pay him, 15 plus million to come play for a season. At running back, I would never give up significant resources for a running back. I'm not a Miles Sanders guy. I never have been. Disliked the pick when they made it. I think you should draft a day 2 or day 3 running back about every year. I would do that this year. You're not going to sign Miles Sanders to a second contract. I like the things we've seen out of Gainwell this year, although it's mostly as a receiving threat. I don't know. Maybe he grows into that rushing threat as well, but I do think you need something at both of those spots. Big priorities for the Eagles this offseason.
A name comments here talking about Ridley. I don't think he's the fit. My opinion.
Okay. A name that every Eagles fan should get comfy and cozy with is Drake London out of USC. Very much Keenan Allen vibes. 6'5", runs super fast, great quickness. Drake London, make sure you check out that guy because he's super, super talented. However, he's going to be in that like end of the first round, second round kind of area. So make sure you go check out that name. That's really good.
I like this. Eagles and Philly sports in general are a top 5 cause of depression and male pattern baldness, as we've all got hats on. Made me laugh there.
I think he's onto something. I think he's onto something. Let's go to some comments. We've got a lot of comments. Keep them coming. I'm going to bring them up. Keith says Miles Sanders is a poor man's Ricky Waters. The dude dances so much. He
is more than a poor man's Ricky Waters. He is literally the Water Street Rescue Mission Ricky Waters. I'm sorry, man. Ricky Waters was a good player. Maybe selfish, but a really good player.
We all know he's got a future on Dancing with the Stars after this season. No question about it. Mike J says Sanders and Barkley are flaming out bad. Penn State looking rough for running backs. Mike J says Calvin Ridley is literally the highest priority.
Barkley got hurt and just didn't come back the same. That's different. That's a whole different thing. That can happen to anybody. But yeah, that's why you don't draft running backs high and why you don't invest large contracts or high draft capital into them, because they're the most injured position and they never come back the same.
Yep. A lot of Ridley support in this chat here. Keith says Quez Watkins for the slot. If we had an adequate quarterback that can throw the deep ball, Quez would look pretty good on this roster. Absolutely.
I think the thing is, I think you want Devontae Smith in the slot more often than not, though. So he gets those two-way goes. I think your ideal construction would be generally having Smith in the slot and having Watkins as your Deshaun Jackson type deep threat to run those vertical routes. That doesn't mean you don't put him in the slot some, but I think you mostly want Smith in the slot.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to just quick grades. How would you grade?
Real quick. We had somebody ask, can the Eagles make a trade for Ridley before the new league year? They cannot. I don't think once the trade deadline's passed, those rosters are pretty much locked until after the new league year opens. So they would have to wait.
All right, go ahead. Let's wrap it up with our player of the game, and then we'll do final thoughts on this Eagles season and how would you grade the overall season. I'll throw it to you, Ty. You lead us off, man. Who's your player of today's game?
Oh God. I guess Ryan Kerrigan.
Yeah, pretty much.
I was really excited when they picked him up this year. I thought that was going to be like a Chris Long type of signing, veteran, come in, be good for the young guys, and then he just turned into an absolute ghost. But today, matching up against handicapped right tackle, he did some work. And honestly, I can't think of anybody else to talk about And that's just how bad the game was. Maybe the refs can get player of the game because they were pretty terrible today too. Not that made any difference. I am not the Philadelphia Eagles fan that's saying we lost because of the refs, but man, were they bad. So I'll go with Ryan Kerrigan just because, Christ, I thought maybe he'd be somewhat of a player this year.
Ryan Kerrigan doubled. He matched his entire season tackle total today and his entire season QB hits total. So anytime you can match your entire season's production in a playoff game, like he's just a big time game player.
I guess so. Oh, what a bust!
I love it, Shane. I love it.
I thought Devontae Smith had some flashes. That's
holy cow! That 2-point conversion catch was the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
Amazing catch. Devontae Smith has proved leaps and bounds that he is a legit wide receiver in this league for years to come. That has been my take every post-game show we've done here for the last several weeks. Like what would his numbers be with like a legit quarterback that can get the ball accurately with anticipation down the field? Devontae Smith's numbers would be astronomical. I thought he had yeah, exactly. So Devontae Smith was my player of the game. What about you, Shane?
I'm going to go because I was going to go Ryan Kerrigan. I was going to go Ryan Kerrigan, but I'll go Alex Singleton. Alex Singleton is not the most talented player. He probably shouldn't be a starting linebacker, but he had 16 tackles today, 4 tackles for loss. He's one of those guys that he just plays hard, and that should be a good thing. That should be like a compliment you stop saying about people after high school athletics, because it should be more about talent. But I love the effort that he gives. I love watching him play. He's a guy that you love to root for. And I think he's got a spot on this team for a long time. I hope it's not as a starter, but I'm glad he's around. And I always like seeing him have a big day.
Love it.
So I got to tell you, Alex Singleton for me is, and you guys, well, Chris isn't too young, but Tim Houck is Alex Singleton. He's literally Tim Houck. And Tim Houck was a safety, which is what Singleton should be, a hard-hitting safety that is only in on rundowns. And he is one of our starting linebackers. I just want to point that out.
I mean, I wouldn't mind him being your third linebacker, the guy that's in base formations when you're expecting the run. Like, I think he's a good fit for that and special teams.
No, he's just not good. Like, watching that defense today, Shane, I mean, watching the Tampa Bay defense today and their linebackers just was incredible. And I'm gonna lose my battery.
Yeah, go charge your battery pack.
Ty was prepared for this podcast as the Eagles were for this game.
Yeah, he's like Ty is the Jalen Rieger of podcasts. He's just dropping the ball.
Nah, don't you even put that evil on my guy Ty. Nobody deserves that.
Matt McGinty says, is Jalen Rieger DSM Media? Go be sure to subscribe. DSM Media.
McGinty!
Matt McGinty says, is Rieger going to wear an Eagles jersey week 1 next year? Any thoughts on that, guys?
God, I hope not.
No, I'm not going to lie. I literally joined DSM Media for pregame today, and Dylan asked me, like what's the over-under on, like, touches from Jalen Rieger? I said flat out 0. I hope my response to that question was I hope they bought him a nice Chick-fil-A meal on Saturday and let him just eat his nice dinner or lunch on the bench. I didn't want him touching the ball whatsoever this entire game. And sure enough, he had this game. It was embarrassing. It was an embarrassment. Howie Roseman, we're looking at you, man. That is horrible. A horrible look.
So back-to-back years, Howie Roseman spent a second-round pick and a first-round pick on J.J. Arcega-Whiteside and Jalen Rieger. Are they the 2 worst receivers in the NFL right now? And we spent day 1 and day 2 picks on them back-to-back years? Like, it's got to be close, right? If they're not, they've got to be close.
Justin Jefferson and Metcalf. It's unbelievable. Would Carson Wentz still be here? Yes. There's a multiverse. You think so, Ty?
Yes. I mean, are you serious? Like, think about that. Like, well, Devontae Smith wouldn't be here. But if they had Justin Jefferson, DK Metcalf, the running back team that they have right now, Ertz would probably still be here. Goddard would still be here. That's an offensive juggernaut, especially with this offensive line. I mean, they haven't really added anything on the offensive line that would have taken away from those players, right? Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, yeah. And multiverse. Yeah, Quentin Moore, you're right, man. Multiverse.
This comment, if Jason Kelce retires, I fully agree, Mike. That is going to be a sad, sad day. No question about it. Keith says Rieger has 3 years. You can't cut him. He's the only reason he's still here is a draft pick. Player of the game goes to Derek Barnett. I love it. David says, what should the Eagles do with the 3 first-round picks? For me personally, it's always best player available. It depends on how the board falls. Always, always, always. That's how I always view the NFL draft, especially in the first round. For me, obviously, is defense. I want a number 1 cornerback to grow. I argue that I need 2 edge rushers because this is one of the best edge rushing classes I have ever seen at the last several years. It is so deep. There's going to be guys in the second round, Myjai Sanders, Drake Jackson. You can go on and on. Logan Hall. This is a really deep class that I would argue that I would put on. Assuming Jonathan Gannon returns and we're going to just keep rushing 4 again and again and again next season, which I hope he's not. We'll get to that in a second. But for me, edge, obviously, I look at a guy that was already named was Tyler Linderbaum, a versatile offensive lineman that can play guard, can play center. And we know how he loves those guys. Put Tyler Linderbaum next to Jeff Stoutland. That is just an amazing concept. That guy's going to be a future all-pro year after year after year with that. So those are my top positions. I want to really address those areas. Obviously, wide receiver is an issue, but I would prefer to address that in free agency or trade. And then obviously you need to get some safety help. But what about you guys? What's your vibe right now for positions of need with this upcoming draft?
For me, edge rusher is a big need. They honestly need something at every level of the defense. Edge rusher is a big need. Derek Barnett will be gone next year. Not like he should keep you from upgrading anyways, but linebacker is a big need. They need an athletic linebacker that can cover. They need a corner 2 that can become a corner 1 when Jalen Reagor. He's in my head. When Darius Slay is no longer here because Darius Slay is still playing at a high level, but he's aging out. They need safety. So, all 4 levels of the defense, you could use something. Obviously,
linebacker. Oh my God. Yeah. I'm sorry. I forgot linebacker. Yes. Nakobe Dean, Devin Lloyd.
Come on, I didn't get to go yet.
I'm sorry. No, but I want to make sure no one's going to call me out on this because I've been doing draft content. Linebacker.
I'm right there. Linebacker is a need. I have said this so many times on this post-game show. The Eagles do not have an NFL linebacker. TJ Edwards is a nice player, but they do not have an NFL linebacker. Yeah. I'd like to see. And the one thing Howie is good at is drafting offensive linemen outside of Dillard. He's been pretty successful, but he's been successful late in drafts. So I'm not, I think that says more about Stoutland than it does anything else. Yeah. So I'm not too worried about them in the first round doing that. I'd like to see them take the best linebacker available, in the first round, and in their second first round pick, the second best linebacker available, and in their third first round pick, take the third best linebacker available. And one of them can be an edge rusher. I don't care. I'm just tired of watching teams play us that have absurdly athletic linebackers, and then I look at the junior college linebackers we're throwing out there. It's so frustrating. Today was a great example because Tampa Bay has some really good linebackers, and not just good linebackers, but really good safeties. So I think the Eagles do need some safety help. I am still holding out hope. Why can't I remember his name now? The kid out of Clemson that we drafted.
Kavon Wallace.
I'm still holding out hope that he could be somewhat of a player athletically. I think he's there. I just don't know if he can pick up the scheme. But we'll see. I'm linebacker for all 3 first-round picks, and obviously that's not going to happen. So you go linebacker, edge rusher, and then best player available.
I will say, if you're going to give Hurts the year next year and you want to try to move to a more traditional NFL offense and see if Hurts can hack it as a passer, there has to be an upgrade at wide receiver. And we talked about free agents. It can be free agency. It can be the draft. But, I mean, there are quarterbacks that succeed with less. Sure. But the Eagles really only have 2 guys you can throw the ball to. And that's so easy to take away. You need another guy. You need a third pass catcher that you can trust if you want to get an honest assessment of Hurts as a passer. And so that's going to be a big priority.
So, Shane, can I ask a question? I thought they tried to do that traditional NFL offense, the Sirianni offense, early in the year, and it obviously just wasn't working. So you think that says more about their targets than it does about Hurts, or is it a combination of the two and you give them an opportunity maybe with better targets? And I think that's what you're saying. I just don't think Hurts is a guy that can sit back there even with options. He just doesn't seem to read through progressions.
Ty froze there.
And when I see that, like today, you posted something on. Sorry, you threw something on Twitter today about the blitz came, his head went directly down, and I think that's a pretty regular thing for him. I don't know if targets changes that. Do you think it changes it, or is it just you're giving him a chance to change it?
I think I talked about this some early in the year. I think it's when the offense was just a mess. And I said, there's 3 things here. Hurts doesn't look good, the receivers don't look good, and the play calling looks bad. Which of those are causes and which are effects is kind of hard to parse out. And so do I think that having another, if you clone Devontae Smith and you've got 2 of him on the team now, do I think Hurts becomes a franchise quarterback? I don't think so. But right now I have to say I don't think so. If we do it and he still doesn't, then I know. And so to me, like if you're sitting there saying Hurts isn't the guy, but there's not a good upgrade for us this offseason, but we are going to replace him, then that's not as big of a deal. But if you're thinking we need to give Hurts another year and we need to really evaluate, can he do this? I think you have to give him another option to eliminate that excuse. So I don't think it makes him a franchise guy, but I think it removes that excuse and it eliminates all doubt.
I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and I'm curious for both of your own takes on this, or your inputs on this. So if you put Jalen Hurts on the Tennessee Titans with Derrick Henry, is he better than Tannehill?
I'm not going to pretend like I watch Tennessee Titans football.
Fair. They're a big-time play-action pass team. They've got some weapons at wide receiver. Not a ton, but they have some.
I don't think he would be a better pure quarterback than Tannehill. I think the Titans would be a better team, though, because of his mobility. And I do think the style of offense that they run would cater to his strength. So I guess if you put Tannehill in the Eagles offense, I think the Eagles offense would be better with Tannehill. But if you swapped them, I think both teams would be better, probably.
Okay. Real quick from Squidward, Tentacles, awesome name. Who has a higher chance of returning next season? Is it Jonathan Gannon or is it Jalen Reagor? Quick thoughts. For me, I'm going Jalen Reagor.
I think they're both back, to be honest.
Okay.
Gannon's not going to get hired by somebody, and I don't think he'll get fired. And I think Reagor ends up back. I hope not, but
Matthew says, make Jalen Reagor walk home from Tampa. I did a poll right when Reagor had the fumble or the botched fumble, and I put a poll: should Jalen Reagor be allowed to come back to Philly after the game? And 84% says no. I love it. All right, let's go to Keith. Keith says Hurts is a quarterback that requires more talented wide receivers to make him look good. I fully agree with that. And let's wrap it up, man. How would you grade the overall season for the Philadelphia Eagles, man? We've done these every single week. It sucks that it's over, but I think there's a lot to be excited about. I'm going to throw it in reverse. What about you, Ty? How would you grade this overall season?
Well, I mean, I'm on record on here as saying I thought they were going to be a 5-win team. So I got to give them a B plus. I thought that they made adjustments to the roster they had. They have all that dead money, so they didn't have a ton of assets to go out and make changes in the offseason. So they exceeded my expectations. I'm a little bummed out that they did because I mean their draft picks aren't going to be as good as they could be. But at the same time, I'm happy that some guys got some playoff experience. So definitely a B plus and exceeded expectations. I'm excited to see what Sirianni does next year. I'm still in on him. It's fun to look forward to the offseason when there's room to improve and have opportunities to improve it, right? So last year we didn't have that. We had dead money with Wentz going to Indianapolis, so pretty much dead in the free agent market. They had draft picks, but the draft scares the hell out of me because of Howie. So it's exciting this year though. 3 first-round picks. You hope that like even Howie can find 1 out of 3, right? That makes an impact next year. So B plus. I'll stick with that.
Quentin Moore agrees. Scribber says, "What you guys do mock draft free agency shows?" Dude, I've been doing those. Just go to our channel. I've already done 2 mocks, and I've got my edge rusher rankings on the channel, and I've got my cornerback rankings will be dropping this week of this draft.
Dagler does a great job. They're awesome. I watch them all the time at work while I'm killing time.
I'll definitely be doing live draft show again this year as well through at least day 1 and the Eagles picks in day 2. So yeah, definitely lots of draft content coming your way. I'll be doing some on Chalk Talk. I'm going to do some stuff with Dibes. We got a lot of off-season stuff coming your guys' way.
My favorite, dude. This is my favorite time of year. As much as I hate to see the Eagles lose, the draft is my baby. Whether it's the NFL or NBA draft, it is my favorite part of the sports calendar. So you're going to get, if you're new to this channel, just be prepared because there's going to be so much draft content. I've been doing this for the last several years. Same for the NBA draft. Tons and tons
one of my favorite things is the dueling mock drafts that we do, where like Gibbs and I will get on and we'll eat a mock. And always said he was better, awesome draft or Shane's crappy draft, and that's how he usually frames the polls. But
you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Mike says B plus. He accomplished way more than originally expected, but ended pretty bad. The Dallas and Tampa Bay smackdowns. Real random kind of thought from this Mike comment here. Are you upset at all that the starters did not play against Dallas in that game? Yes. I mean, you look at how rusty this team was out the gate. You know that Tampa Bay is the number 1 team, first quarter, third quarter teams in the NFL. We know the Eagles have struggled out the gate again and again this season. They're one of the worst, like 5 points a game in the first quarter. Like, anybody upset about that? Like, where are we at with that?
I see Shane shaking his head. I would have liked to see them out there at least for the first half last week. I don't think this team is good enough that they've earned the opportunity to take a bye week before their playoff game, even though it was already in stone. I thought that was a mistake, and I thought it showed a lot early. But then again, they're always bad in the first quarter. So who knows?
So sorry, Shane. You're going to get 2 on 1 here because that did not sit well with me. I was not okay with it at the time, and I'm not okay with it now because obviously hindsight is what it is. But for me, like, this team was nowhere near ready, especially what we have seen here. So what about you, Shane? Like, any sour grapes about that?
No, I don't ever want starters playing in a meaningless game. It was a meaningless game. I mean, it's not like the Eagles have been lighting it on fire in the first quarter and then they came out flat this week. Like, they just were what they were. I don't think you attribute today's performance to rust. Now the exception is, if you've secured a first round bye, I want to see starters play in that last week a little bit because, it'd be 3 full thing is too long, I think. But if you're playing in the first round of the playoffs and your Week 18 game doesn't matter, I personally wouldn't play starters. It's just not worth the injury risk.
Do we have any actual starters?
Devontae Smith.
Sorry.
Who played?
Yeah, okay. Well, he can sit if he wanted to.
Yeah. Quinn says TPL is the greatest. Thank you so much, Quinn. He always rocks hard with us. He's one of our regs. Mike says he is really mad about not playing the starters. Apparently, it is 10-0. Niners got the lead here over the Cowboys. That's awesome. That's good news.
Yeah, the 49ers scored a touchdown. Dallas went 3-and-out, and the 49ers just kicked a field goals.
Is there anybody that's more underappreciated than Jimmy Garoppolo? I mean, there's a guy who played in a Super Bowl. He seems to win games. He's not fun to look at, but they always seem to be competitive, right? Like,
that's what my high school basketball coach said about me.
I know.
Wasn't fun to look at, but was always.
You could say that about us too.
Well, yeah, we're not fun to look at, but we definitely, we bring something to the table.
All right, let's wrap it up, man. Ty, I'm going to throw it to you first. Where can we find you, man? What do you got going on? And final thoughts.
Well, I already gave those B+. I'm good. See us tomorrow at 3:00. Pull the Pin podcast. We are really ramping up. In fact, we're going to be doing some cross podcasts with some other groups that are going to be a ton of fun. We're going to start having some guests, which we're super pumped about. Everybody, if you aren't a golf fan, cheer for Seamus Power today. I need that to happen for some money to come in, but our bets are rocking it right now. Check us out tomorrow, Mondays, 3 p.m. We're starting to think about doing a second pod during the week that'll be not gambling related, but more golf talk. So Check us out. It's a good time. We come out of a show. Follow me at PTP 2021. It's where I do most of my tweeting. I'm also at TyBook3, and I tweet the Eagles games when we get back to that time of year next year.
You did a great job with it this year, Ty. Awesome.
Thanks,
awesome.
man.
Yeah, it sucks. It's like bittersweet, right? What about you, Shane?
You can check me out on Twitter at @halfandhalf_yell. Check out my podcast, Chalk Talk. I do full NFL reviews and previews each week. So even though the Eagles season is over, that podcast isn't. I'll be covering the playoffs throughout. And then we'll get into off-season content. We're going to do some divisional stuff, like how to fix each team in a division, throughout the off-season, draft targets, draft shows. Also, go check out on the Painted Lines. I haven't written anything there for a while. I've been focusing on podcasting. But last off-season, I posted a series of articles, Football 101 articles, breaking down coverages and strengths and weaknesses. I just thought somebody just messaged me on Twitter saying that they really enjoyed those, and it made me remember they're there. So go check those out. And I may try to get into some video stuff like that this offseason too. So if there's something you guys want to see this offseason, ping me on Twitter. I'm always looking for ideas, but appreciate you guys showing up every week to hang out.
As always, you can follow me on Twitter at Mr. Crockpot. Party on Broad will be breaking down heavily the NFL draft moving forward. Expect a ton of guests, expect a ton of rankings. I really want to do a kind of a tier ranking of the Eagles offense and defensive players. That'd be really, really fun. See where we're standing at this time moving forward. As always, Sixers content is going to go up and up and up now that the Eagles have officially ended. So expect a ton of post-game shows, expect a ton of other kind of individual videos, Sixers breakdowns, now that I've got a little more free time. And as always, the Suit Up Geeks. We did our best picture Oscar noms and winners draft last night. It was a ton of fun, a huge success. That voting will go down. So what it is, it's like fantasy football meets movies, but it's a lot of fun. And everyone has their favorite movies that they pick live in fantasy football style, and it's a single elimination bracket, which will begin tonight. So that is going to be a lot of fun. So as always, Peacemaker reviews, Boba Fett reviews, and we did our Scream review last Friday. Heavy spoilers, by the way. Be careful. And of course, please be sure to smash that subscribe button. Hit the like button if you love the Philadelphia Eagles. Thank you, everyone here who has supported us throughout this Eagles season, man. There's been a lot of ups and downs. There's been a lot of ups and downs this Eagles season, but you guys are the best. And it is amazing to announce that we finally reached 5K subscribers here on the channel, which is absolutely ridiculous. Like, dude, I remember when I was like shitting my pants that we hit 100 subscribers, and here we are at 5,000. It's just the beginning. So follow my man Ty, Pull the Pin podcast. Make sure you go check that out tomorrow at 3 p.m. Talk, my man.
We'll make you some money.
Yes, sir. Let's go get that money, baby. Except for Jalen.
This is the point the wrong direction when he's pointing to one of us. So even Dibes is slipping, and he wasn't ready for the season.
I'm also a little soft right now. I'm out of a drink. I need another drink. I need more. I'm gonna just forget this game even happened. But you guys are terrific. Keep up the great work, dude. Thank you so much. Yeah. And Quinn says, "Thank you for the Eagles talk. Go Sixers." Sixers are hot right now. We have a lot to talk about with that 100%. But my man Shane, talk with Mark Henry Jr. at @halfandhalf_TPL. Thank you so much for everyone, for everything, for Ty, for Shane, for myself. Stay awesome, everyone.